be glad. You know why? Because if it can happen to him, it can happen to you.
Gotta have the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. There he is. Three, buddy.
Cliff.
Yeah, man. I was like, dude, he just stepped away to go eat.
Oh man, I missed him.
Yeah, but he's still here. He's still here.
Oh, sweet. I made it back in time then.
Yeah, he's still here. He says,
Yeah, 1 second. I just got to message someone. Looks like they've listed an expensive item for hardly anything, and I don't think they realize.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no problem. I got something to talk to you. Cliff, I need to ask you, how long are you developing this game?
It's like just over 2 years now.
Oh, nice.
For Lost Relics or in general?
For Lost Relics.
Okay.
For Lost Relics. That I've been a developer? Jeez.
Like 13 years or something?
20 years or something.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what it is now. Yeah, I've been doing it since I was about 18.
Oh, wow.
If we ask you questions that you're not allowed to ask or answer, feel free not to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you got to say, hey, I'll let you know when I can or whatever, that's totally acceptable. So, Cliff, today when I logged into the game, my very first dungeon I went into, when I exited the dungeon, it took away all of my BC items and everything, and it freaked me out. And I went to the tavern to see if maybe it put them in a tavern, but then I went to Jay Rifting, and I'm going to give him credit. One of the guys said, hey, relog, and I did, and it took and fixed everything. But I posted a video in the bug chat just letting you know about it.
Oh, okay, that sounds weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'll check out the video when I get a chance.
Yep.
I do like the recent updates, and I wanted to say I think it's incredible how you make updates so quickly. I come from another game called Entropia, and we usually have to wait like years for an update to come out.
Yeah.
Like a one-man team, that's pretty awesome.
I think what people don't realize, like I'm a one-man team, and everyone's like, you should hire more people. But I work fast normally, as like when I used to work in the industry and stuff. I was a fast worker, so what I could get done in 8 hours was the same as probably what 2, maybe 3 other people could do in the same time.
That's amazing.
But I work like 16 hours a day and weekends, so that's the equivalent of almost 3 people. So I'm almost like a team of 9. And people are like, just hire more people.
Your
like,
craft, like
yeah.
If you're good at what you do, it could defeat the purpose of having a team.
Yeah, I'd actually probably prefer people to stop talking about that it's one person or something, because it seems to upset a lot of people, and they're like, what the hell? Why don't you just hire a team or something? It's like, you do realize that I release updates and features and everything faster than other people and other large companies and stuff at the moment. As you add more people, you add processes and things slow down. You have to do checks and do all this other stuff. So while I can react fast right now, that changes when you get a team. Things start to slow down.
Right.
So it's not like a solution. It's not like, yeah, cool, just hire 100 Cliffs. It'll be like 100 times faster. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah. I totally understand that you got to get quality people. And then one of the things I was telling people too is that this is a problem I've seen of another game where they had a small development team. And the problem is this, is that these guys, they may be there for maybe a year, maybe 2 or something. And then the next thing you know, they move on and they do something else, and then Cliff's sitting there going, well, what was that guy in charge of? What did he do? What all did he have influence on? And then you're kind of going back, looking through everything, going, now he's now the master of something or whatever it was that he was doing, and I didn't really have all the knowledge of what he was doing now because you are doing other things. So is that true? I mean, is that true?
Sure. That'll happen. I guess there's a perfect team size that you can kind of grow to. And if people are kind of have some overlap in what everyone else is doing, so they understand that, then that's a bit easier. But as the team grows too big, then everyone starts to do their own positions. Like you work in a team of like 100 and 150, and people start to own things like, oh, I own the chat window. So they know everything inside and out of just the chat window, because that's like a big enough system by itself. And just things like that. So, I don't know. I mean, when it's smaller, everyone has to own overlapping things. So if someone leaves, it's a little bit easier to replace. But you're right. Like if someone's owning something completely, like the combat system, and has been working on it, and people haven't really been reviewing it, then you could end up with a gap like that in the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen where there was a developer in the game and the guy was like asking him about his crafting system and the dude didn't know anything about it. You could tell the guy didn't know anything about it. And then it just, the guy would always give you the answer. Well, we're looking into it. We're looking into it. We're, just trying to like shove, push people off. And we knew we could pick it up after a while. You could figure it out. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? But hey guys, if you have any questions for Cliff, please feel free to ask in the chat. Do not hesitate.
Yeah, I got a question for you. So I noticed I'm Avaruptor, by the way. I stream a lot.
Oh, hey.
Lost
Yeah,
Relics.
I've seen some of your streams every now and then.
I've been submitting a lot of bug reports and suggestions.
Thanks.
I noticed that you've been activating a lot of accounts, maybe over 6,000 or 10,000. And we had that snafu during Easter where a lot of accounts came online and you're having issues with managing that, like so many actions at one time and it wasn't enough for the server to handle. Do you think you'll have that issue again, or the servers are stable? Or
I mean, it could be a possibility. So they're cloud servers, so I can scale them up or down as needed, depending on volume. I haven't set up any automated rules and things yet. When you do that stuff, it tends to cost a lot more money. So because I haven't got a fiat income at the moment, I can't pay for those services. So I'm just running off of savings that I got for the Easter sale. So once I get that up and running, then I can, set that up some more. And I'm in talks with, so I use Microsoft. I'm in talks with them with doing a few technical solutions for a few things, because some of that stuff I've never used before. Like they've got new solutions for scaling and stuff, and I've never used it before. So I need to talk to them about how best to do it. So yeah, I mean, there might be hiccups in the future and stuff, but I mean, I'll just have to deal with them like I always have. Yeah.
All right. It seems like there's a lot of people interested in the technology of what you're using language-wise to develop the game. They're also asking what technologies are behind the game. So I'm going to ask those two.
Yeah, I mean, so for the game, it's using Unity, and so I code in C# many years ago when I was in high school. So when I said I started when I was about 18, that was when I started commercially, like working for a company. Before that, I did it in primary school and high school. And I was back then, it was only like BASIC was the language of choice. There was like Pascal and C and stuff like that. But I got interested in BASIC because in the school libraries, they had books on it. They didn't have any books on any other programming languages. So I learned a bit in BASIC and switched to QBasic and QuickBasic, I think it was at the time. This is all in DOS. Some of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Hey, I do.
And then from there, what did I do? I ended up using Visual Basic because I made the progression. And then at some point I switched to C and C++ because by that stage I was already in the video games industry, and that's what we used for all the engines. We had custom engines and everything, and it was all written in C and C++. And then for me, just naturally, I moved to C#. I love C# because it kind of has all the missing features and niceties that C and C++ didn't really have, and it was kind of like an extension of that. So I feel right at home with that. So using a game engine that used C# was like a natural progression for me too. So yeah, I use Unity for everything and C#. And so for me, the back end is then also C#, so I run on ASP.NET in Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud services.
Nice.
So that's all the technical stuff behind it.
I was very I noticed that you made a change that when I sell items I can see it when I'm playing a game. I really like that change. I know that was a quality of life, so I thought that was cool.
That was actually in there for like I don't know, 8 months or something now. It was active, but there was a point where I made a change on the server and something disconnected it basically, and I didn't realize that there was a problem. No one had said anything, and I hadn't used it. And then in making these Emporium updates, I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, this thing doesn't work, or this isn't connected properly. I'm like, oh, look, this is why. And so I fixed that, so they just started working again.
Oh, look at that. I found a blockchain item. Hey, if I just happen to find a transcendent while Cliff is in here, hey, I don't know what happened. Just kidding.
That's the problem now. Like I'm not doing anything, but people are like, oh, if he
Yeah.
comes and watches your
Yeah,
stream, you'll get a
yeah,
blockchain
yeah.
item because
I
he clicks
know.
some button.
We should probably
I'm
be
like,
careful with the jokes.
yeah,
I know,
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I know that too. And you know, I do tell people that. I tell people. One guy was complaining. He goes, "That's because they're a streamer." Me and Havok
Yeah.
are like, dude, I have yet to ever find a legendary item. I have not even found a legendary item, and I've been streaming this game for about 700 hours. And so one guy was mad. He's like, I've been playing this game for 30 hours and I still got the same items. And I started laughing at him. And I was like, dude, I understand you.
Yeah, the thing that people don't realize with drop tables, and I've tried explaining this many times. It doesn't matter how many times I say it. There's always someone who comes in and complains about it or doesn't understand how it works. It's like a constantly evolving thing. And they're like, oh, I want to see the drop rates or something. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter if I tell you what the drop rates are, or even if I could, you're still going to complain about them. Like if I said there's a 1% chance to drop a transcendent, you'd be like, oh, sweet. Okay, so if I do 100 dungeon runs, I'll get a transcendent. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works. It doesn't.
Right.
It's not a guarantee. It's a deterministic roll.
Right.
Sorry, a non-deterministic roll. So like the other thing is people are like, well, why don't they drop more? And it's like, well, if you have 100 players and your drop rate is, let's say 1%, then theoretically everyone would get one item every 100 rolls.
Yeah.
But what happens then when there's now 1,000 people dropping and it's still 1%? Well, now suddenly everyone's getting them way more often. And then now you have like 100,000 players. It's like, well, now suddenly the loot pool is completely empty.
Yep.
It's like for games like Diablo and stuff where it doesn't there's no limited supply. It doesn't matter. They just keep rolling stats and they random roll of stats, and you're just trying to look for this specific item that's like perfect stats and everything.
Right.
And so they've got a drop rate for that, or like a chance of that happening as well. But it's different there because it's not like there's only 10 items that can ever be these perfect stats. It's just unlimited, and it's just based on their roll stats. So that's something that people don't really seem to gather or to understand. And they're like, well, tell me the drop rates. And I'm like, well, it changes, first of all, and for limited items, the way I do it is it's dynamic. So if let's say there's 100 swords and there's one bow left, if you had the same odds of both of them, the next two rolls could theoretically have the bow completely out of supply, and now there's just swords left. Well, that's not really showing that there's less of that item there. So it kind of, for my stuff, it sort of changes the probability of it dropping based on how many are left, which kind of emulates that there's less of this item around, and therefore it's a harder chance of getting it.
Okay.
So you can't even say like there's a 1% chance to get this sword. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is. It depends on how many are left right now and how many players are playing.
Right. I got a couple quick questions I think people will want to know. People have asked, can I find items in the early dungeons? And I tell them, yes, you can. Matter of fact, probably because people play these dungeons the most, just like you say, every time you're pulling the slot machine, if there's more people pulling the slot machine in the same dungeon, well, guess what? That dungeon's going to get the most wins. And people were like, well, if I go to Oak Cliff Caverns, is it better chances? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if you're allowed to say, or is there better chances in different dungeons?
I mean, the number of rolls you get in Olcaf is more than you get in the lower dungeons, and there's like a slight increase in probability for it. So this is the problem. You hit the nail on the head. Basically, the more someone does, like if 1,000 players are just running the first dungeon and one player is running the last dungeon, it's going to seem like there's better loot in the first dungeon. That's because it's happening 1,000 times more often than the other one.
Yeah, if you increase the frequency, obviously your chances go up.
Yeah, exactly. And even if the chances of loot, like if the chances of loot coming out in the first dungeon was 1%, and the chances of loot coming out in the higher dungeon was, let's say 10%, it's still going to seem like, because there's 1,000 people running the first one over and over, and there's one person running the highest one, it's still going to seem like there's a higher chance of loot coming out in the first one, because people are just looking at the overseer as well, and seeing that other people are getting loot, and it's like who's coming out of that one dungeon. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can't like it's the human brain is just trying to rationalize random numbers,
Right.
and trying to find patterns in that kind of thing. So like you guys already are saying things like patterns, like, oh, Cliff joined my stream and I found an item. That's the pattern. It's
Yeah,
like,
right.
well, no, it was just coincidence.
Yeah. I totally know that. I do. And trust me, guys. Like I've been telling people a long time ago. I says I have no special. I have nothing. He does nothing special for me. He does nothing. I have the same chances, and sometimes I think I have less chances than you guys because I've seen guys get crazy items and. Like I said, I've never pulled a legendary, and I've pulled only one epic weapon. The rest of the things I've purchased, and I look at it as an investment, and I enjoy, that I can play the game. And I bought them so that I could display the game because I'm a streamer. I'm like, if I'm a streamer, I want to be able to play the whole game. And guess what? If I don't have certain items, it's harder for me to do. So that's why I look at it as an investment. But that doesn't mean that like I found all these items. I didn't. I had to pay for them. And one of the other questions I wanted to get answered, Cliff, was somebody had a discussion with me, and we had a disagreement, and we were wondering. So the way I understand is every time you come into a instance, because it's an instance dungeon, that the since we're talking about loot, the loot, the way I understand it, is generated for all the creatures. Like your loot is generated when you step into the dungeon. All the loot is already decided. It already makes all the rolls, figures out what it is. And is that also for the resource nodes? Because I've also heard that no, if you disconnect and you come back in, your resource nodes are going to be a random roll every time you actually click on the resource node. Can you answer that question?
I mean, I can answer all these questions, but like, what does it give you at the end? What do you get out of knowing this sort of stuff?
Right. So you're saying nothing will really change whether or not the loot's generated before or after. I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of
you guys can ask all these rules and things like that, but then I need to change things, and then you'll be like, "What the hell? You told me it was this way, and you changed it some other way." I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's because it's I'm still fine tuning things."
No worries. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, like I can say that now. Like, sure, some of the loot is generated first off, and then there'll be other things like the mining things where it might generate when you use it.
Okay.
If you resume an adventure, it might move around some of the already discovered loot, but it'll still remember what you already discovered. It doesn't like give you new stuff. There's also a lot of people who I notice are terminating and then resuming adventures as well, and kind of using that as like a little cheat thing if they get into trouble or something. If they do that too much, their accounts will be banned as well because that's considered cheating. So anyone hears that who is actually doing that, you should stop doing that.
Wait. Let me understand that. So you're saying people are terminating the dungeon? Like when I first walk in, like right now, I could hit escape. Well, I guess I walked too far. Like coming in and then abandoning. Is that what you're saying, or something?
No. They'll run halfway through or something, and then they might get into trouble. And they know they're going to die, and they didn't bring anything with them, and so they might terminate their connection or something like that, and then they'll be given another chance to come back. That is also tracked and is seen on the server, and there's a couple of people who've had several hundred of those.
So they're getting caught pretty much, and they're
going to get banned.
Okay, I will.
Because that's cheating.
Okay. I will definitely put that information out. Thank you for that. Because I was unaware of that. Okay, I had no idea.
It's only meant as like a bad thing. Like if your computer blue screens or something like that and gets disconnected.
I understand.
But if your computer's blue screening 300 times across the last 6 months, then you've got some serious problems with the computer. You should get fixed.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I totally agree. And let's see.
I'm still here, though. I'm a little bit starstruck. I got a question for you, Cliff, if you don't mind. You do so much for the game and you have so much knowledge. Did you work on any AAA game or AAA company where you like developed all the skills you got because you do so much on yourself?
So I worked for video game companies in Australia for about 12 years. That was like Oran. We made Dark Reign and Trains, Battlestar Galactica on the arcade. And then I went to, it was Chrome Studios, after KMG Games. So yeah, I mean, they're not in the industry. There's like different types. Generally, AAA is like GTA and stuff like that. And then there's other stuff where we do like licensed IP. And so I've worked on Happy Feet 2 and Battlestar Galactica, which was a licensed IP instead of like original IP. So yeah, I mean, I've worked in video game companies. I haven't worked for like Epic Games or anything like that because that required me to move. I have been approached several times by those companies, but I've generally turned them down because my personal situation didn't allow me to follow those. Instead, I just, I mean, I've always, ever since I worked in the industry, I always worked during the day on games and stuff. And then in the night, I worked on utilities and apps and other things. So that's why I can work so long. I've just been doing it for so many years that I can just work long hours without it affecting me. So yeah.
Oh, that's yeah. Not everybody can do that, and I'm glad you're able to.
Because a lot of devs get burned out if they do too much. That's like one of the things I was scared for before I like knew anything about you. Like, does he not like get burned out? And then I'm like, oh, he's already 2 years doing it. I'm like, he's probably not stoppable. Yeah,
I mean, I don't recommend it. I used to work, but like when I used to be single, I used to work long hours by myself, and I didn't have any roommates and stuff like that, and that can affect your mental health quite a lot. And it kind of sneaks up on you and stuff. So I don't recommend doing stuff if you're like alone and you're just doing it all the time, because it can really take its toll. And even if you do have other people around, like to talk to or to disconnect from and that sort of thing, it can still be a lot to do. Like, if you're constantly hitting problems and troubles and things like that and can't make any headway, it's really demotivating. Like you have a bug or something like that you can't solve or you can't find or something like that. It's really tough sometimes to push through that. But in saying that, I think the thing that I can sort of lean back on is that I just have a lot of experience and I've done so many different things, from server work to game work to AI to everything. Like, some of the things I've implemented at the moment are super basic, and I know I get criticized for that, but it's like, well, I can do it better, but I'm not going to do it more than what I really need to right now, because things might change. So, if you invest heavily in like all the AI and make them super smart, you might end up changing the game direction slightly later on anyway. And for a lot of this stuff, I'm still I've changed it from what I was originally going to do. Like, everyone, like I prefer more arcade games, and everyone's like, no, make it like deeper, make it more RPG, add more skills, do all this other stuff. So I've kind of had to change what I was going to originally do anyway. So stuff needs to get, rewritten every now and then. And you need to not go too much into it if it ends up being horrible or not working or something like that, or people don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
A little bit at a time.
Definitely.
Right.
Do you know about old school RuneScape?
Yeah. I never played it because...
No, I played it as a kid for years and later on again, and it like a little bit reminded me of it, so that's why I like really, really bad wanted to play it, even though it was like 2 months locked. I like checked every day on Discord, like, when is Cliff posting something finally? But like the skills they have there, that's kind of unique, and the grind is long as hell, just like on this game. So are you planning to make like more skills available, like 20, 25 maybe, or?
You mean the same amount as RuneScape?
I think they're on 24.
Okay. I don't know yet where it's going to go. I'll probably just build upon it. Like, some of this stuff, like, everyone's like, oh, you're making an MMO. And I'm like, well, no, I'm one person. Making an MMO is crazy for one person. I would never try and do that myself. But, as time goes on, like, I keep adding elements and it's slowly getting bigger and bigger in those areas. But I still prefer to have like the arcadey style in it. Like, you're not doing like in some of those traditional games where you're just clicking once and it's just a numbers game where it's battling against it. I've kind of added some skill into it because that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
Where do you ultimately see Lost Relics, like your long-term vision?
I don't know. It's been broken so many times now because of influences from other people and requests and that kind of thing, that I don't know where it's going to go.
Okay. Just
anymore.
taking it
Like,
as it goes. Okay.
yeah, my original plan is kind of not really. We're not really going in that direction anymore. It's kind of morphing into something probably bigger, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm genuinely interested in the gameplay, and I think you have a masterpiece on your hands.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I like the game as well, and I was talking earlier about there were some other streamers that I knew, and I'm not going to say them because it doesn't matter, but the thing is that they were playing something else, and I was like, I just don't like that gameplay. I'm like, I can't play that game. I'm sorry, I don't. I can't. I like this game. The game plays well. I like the fact that I have skills, and I see so many different things that you can do in this game, such as with the skills, with the different we haven't even gotten into multiplayer, and we haven't even gotten into PvP, and I know that that's something that you are interested in, and I am too. And I think a lot of these other games, they don't have that kind of stuff, and I like it in this game. It's great. So I'm looking forward to it.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, you should add this or you should do this because it's just like this. I'm like, well, I don't have to be exactly like all the other games. Like, it would be probably good to be set apart and be a little bit different. And sure, you might hate that part about this game, but that's kind of also means it's a bit different too. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And if there are bad things and it causes issues and that kind of thing, then sure, it can get updated and changed. But if the majority seem to be enjoying it or actually like it because it's a bit of a change, or I'm happy with it because I need to make that change because I'm making another change further on that relies on it, then it just kind of has to stay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I'll tell you as a player, I like where the game's at right now. I like anything that's coming, blockchain, Emporium, Arena, whatever. I'm playing the game and I'm enjoying it. I don't care when you implement those. Take as long as you need. That's how I feel about it. So I'm not that player saying, when is this being launched? I know you don't like to set dates, so feel free to take your time with that stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather you do something that you're happy and pleased with than just to push out something just to get it to try to make everybody happy. No, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. That's really understanding, and hopefully more people understand that.
I think the true legit players that are here enjoying the game don't have deadlines or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people coming in at the moment seem to, like, the comments I see about it, about the update feedback and things like that, will comment that, oh, there's not enough tutorials, or oh, there's not enough adventures and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, that's the point, guys. Like, this is like in development early on.
Actually,
right.
Havok and I have been helping out a lot of players as they come through here. We're guiding them along and teaching them.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to do that because I can't do all the feedback for everything. So it's great that you guys are doing that as well and you're having fun and enjoying it.
Well, people need to invest their own time as well. Like, you can come in a game and like ask 100 questions, or you just can watch a streamer and maybe ask there or do some research there. I mean, I think I waited 2 months for the game, but as soon as I could log in, I could like do all the basic stuff what I need to do because, well, I watched Havok for a long time and I learned a lot there. And a lot of people can just like watch a streamer and ask a question or learn something.
I'm not sure why.
Like shouting in channel 100 times.
I think for some reason these days people seem to have lost that feeling of adventure and exploration and discoverment and just trying to figure that sort of stuff out for themselves. It seems to be everyone is so used to just asking Google or something for an answer and getting an instant answer without actually putting any time or effort in. I've done in the past things like puzzle elements and that kind of thing, and I imagine that that's not going to go well when I implement it because the chat is just going to be filled with, oh my god, how do I solve this puzzle? So my standard counter for that is to actually make it so that the puzzles are completely unique to the person. So they have to kind of do it and figure it out themselves without being too complicated. Like, I don't like some of those puzzles that people release that are just only solvable by 3 people are a bit excessive. So it wouldn't be anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it sort of brings some of that stuff back in. It's nice to have people critically thinking again instead of just asking for answers for everything.
Well, that kind of like that
you have
pet
a nice
thing,
setup
right?
over there.
Sorry,
go ahead, Havok.
I was just going to say, like, remember we were talking about that pet, right? Because we don't really know all the ins and outs of how to get that pet, and I don't know.
The Malo pet?
Yeah, the Malo pet. And we were looking for the tokens, and I'm like, I don't know where they are. Maybe they're not implemented in the game. I don't know. And I'm just, hey, if I don't know, I'll find out about it as I, ask people. Somebody's going to figure it out eventually. And maybe it's not something that you can find yet. I don't know. But, that maybe, kind of what you're saying, where people are going to have to find and figure out things on their own,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I'm assuming that someone's going to figure it out sooner or later, probably in the next couple of days or something. Stuff like that. Like I release it and I don't say anything about it purposefully, just to let people who are, able to investigate that and to think a bit more critically about it, to give them a little bit of a bonus, because you should really be rewarded for that sort of stuff, I feel. I'm not a fan of this whole click this button and get an item, or this airdrop and that kind of stuff. Like you're just holding your hand out and waiting for something, and that doesn't really seem like you should be rewarded for holding your hand out and then creating like 1,000 other accounts and them holding out their hand for you as well. Like, yeah, I mean, I think you should be having fun and not really thinking about the blockchain items. And I know that's pretty hard at the moment because that's the main focus. And also they feel like they're dropping less, and that's mainly because the uncommon pool is out of stock. And the only reason it's actually out of stock is because the Ethereum network is so expensive and has been now for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because normally, like when I set up the original trade system, the quest system, you used to trade in some items and get another item out, and those items that were traded in would go back into the pool for other players, and it would sort of keep it flowing. But soon after I released that was when the network got super congested and went really expensive. And so people stopped doing that, and suddenly like the economy just halted, which was really a big shame. So hopefully with moving, like everyone's been asking me to basically recreate the blockchain virtually and to allow them to trade items without the blockchain and without having to pay for the fees and stuff. So, I mean, it's not...
It seems like a workaround coming for that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that now with the blockchain marketplace that's coming.
Right.
But the thing is, like, I basically had to recreate what I was assuming the blockchain would handle. And 2 years ago when I started, gas was one gwei, and it cost you hardly anything, like a couple of 0.0001 cent or something to send something. And then that was fine for about a year. And then it just kind of got expensive from there. So really, I'm kind of only opening this up or allowing this due to like huge demand. I was always expecting the gas fees and stuff to go down again, but they haven't. Short of moving to a different chain, which sounds so easy when you say it, isn't actual in practice.
Yeah. Are you talking about change when you said that?
The problem is gonna take a long time, at least 2 years before it even goes down.
Yeah. You know anything about this? I think we were mentioning it earlier, Cliff, something called, is it Ether 2 or something is supposed to be a big answer, everybody's saying?
Oh, you mean, well, that's just Ethereum network 2, as in where they're moving from proof of work to proof of stake. So it's the same network. It's just called Ethereum. They were originally calling it ETH2 so that there could be some differentiation, but it's the same thing.
But now we're eventually Infinity with Ginge, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's on the Polkadot network, but Polkadot, if you've investigated into that kind of allows you to use all blockchains through Polkadot, and you can use it on anything. So, I mean, that's another reason. That's why I've held off from creating any items on JumpNet. I could just go and create the rest of the items on JumpNet now, but the problem I see there is that there's going to be this confusion. It's like, okay, I got this sword. How do I get it in game or something like that? It's like, well, that sword is on JumpNet, so you have to do this, and then this sword is on mainnet, and you have to do it on this, and like different rules. I'm like, why does it cost me so much money to use mainnet when I can just do it on JumpNet for free and all that sort of stuff? So, like a solution there would be for me to basically accept all the mainnet items, to take them all into the game wallet. And then when I have them all, I could basically recreate them on JumpNet and then destroy them off mainnet so that there's none left on mainnet. It's not going to be possible to do that completely. There's already items lost in wallets that people have lost their keys to and can't get back. But at least I can recoup some of that, because a lot of those items were backed with a lot of engine comparatively today, based on what its value was, because back then it was like 20 cents. And people were very, very focused on the backing of items instead of their value or utility. So yeah, it's just a lot of.
They can maybe coexist. You can have stuff on engine, stuff on gen, and
That's the problem though. It's just a bit of a mess in trying to relay to the user. Hey, you've got to this item's here. You got to do this. This one's here. You got to do that. Oh, if you send that item out now, I know you're used to using jump net items, but this one's a mainnet item. So when you send it to your wallet, you've got to have ETH. Oh, you didn't have ETH. Okay, now it's sitting in your wallet and you can't use it. Stuff like that. I mean, I don't know what Efinity is going to bring, whether it's going to be similar. There's some of the technical details out there, but Engine have also said that they'll allow us to, as a developer, just simply query their API and it'll just support all the networks through one API. But right now, that's not the case. There's separate networks for each of them, and so I'm like maintaining separate connections for each of them and separate credentials and everything like that. So it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds complicated.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't made my decision yet with where it's going to go. There's a possibility to just pick up everything and move to another chain in the future, but that's a lot of work as well, because Engine provides all the services and everything to interact with the blockchain, and to make it a little bit easier so that you don't have to know the specifics.
I've said this before, and that's why I love talking to you, Cliff, is that I can tell whenever I ask you anything, you never give me a one-word answer. You don't give me this, you definitely know what you're talking about, and you give me an explanation, and I enjoy this so much about you. And it could be anything that I mentioned to you. It doesn't matter where I go with a conversation. You have knowledge of what's going on in the crypto world and in your game. So, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I really love this game and talking to you, and I can get behind you, and I try to encourage other people, because I hear so many times people going, hey, I want to stream this game, and I'm like, man, good, this is a good game, to stream. Get behind this guy. This guy knows what he's doing. He's involved in the community, and I am just so excited about that. So are you I thought I mentioned you say something about the fiat system, and I think you're getting the pendants back up again. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
I mean, so the fiat system, I used to use PayPal, and then I switched to Square. Both companies ended up doing the same thing, and saying that I couldn't do business with them anymore. And I think it's difficult to tell why exactly, but I think it might have been just they considered it too high risk, because there's players out there who were playing the game who would buy their pendant, use it up until it expired, so 30 days or something like that, and then on day 31 they'd go to their bank and say, hey, I didn't make this transaction, and do a chargeback. And that's like, yeah, great, well done, you got your money back. You screwed me over because I didn't get paid for the time you played, and you probably got free items out of it and stuff. But now you've kind of screwed it up for everyone, because there's been too many of those done by too many different players, and then the accounts were closed. So great. So I've had to find like another provider who understands the space, understands blockchain, understands and has been trying to connect the two spaces. And we'll give this another go. If this is this third time it also fails, and we end up having too many chargebacks and they close my account again, that'll be the last time I do fiat. I'll just be accepting blockchain from then, because at least with that, people can't pretend that they've made a payment and then be like, oh, hang on, I didn't mean to do that, can I have my money back? No,
that's really not such a bad idea if you had to go with just crypto. I don't think that's so bad.
I mean,
a way you can maybe accept a different currency for dependents. Like
So what I've been doing at the moment is it's all custom right now. So I wrote all the code for being able to read that you sent ETH or Engine. So that's all my own custom stuff. But back then there was nothing really available. These days it looks like there's a couple of companies that are around that do that for you, and then they support multiple networks. So theoretically I could accept Tron and ETH and Bitcoin and whatever. Like it should be whatever they support. Then I could then
Tron
theoretically
or
support.
Matic or EOS. That will be like amazing, because I bought pendants on day one, a couple of them. But like first it started with, I think, a 20 engine fee from crypto.com. That's $20 gone. And then there was some changes to get some more engine and Ethereum as well to my engine wallet, because I forgot that I needed the gas to pay. So there was another exchange. Like I ended up like paying $70 or something just in fees to get all the pendants.
Yeah,
And
look, I mean, if
you
the
could
way
do
that
it with Tron, it's 6 cents, and then that will be like way better and amazing.
the way that the exchanges work, that you're supposed to, you don't do small amounts, otherwise you'd be paying too much in fees. They charge a fixed fee because essentially they're just trying to cover the gas cost and then possibly any sort of, extra fees for them to make their service and provide their service and stuff. So if you're getting charged a $20 fee every time, then you should just look at taking out larger amounts less often, rather than trying to take out small amounts and then saying this is not worth it. So, there is that. And then I don't know, like, there's other ways to get crypto converted and stuff like that. Like I think someone in the channel was talking about the decentralized exchanges and stuff before.
Yeah.
I don't know the legalities of those. Last time I checked them, because you're just directly trading with people, I think you're bypassing the various checks, any money laundering and all that kind of stuff that they put in place, and you potentially are doing something wrong in your country where you live, depending on the laws. So that's not generally an option either. So you do have to go through that. So if there are fees, like what you're saying, you just kind of have to, accept them, I guess, because that's the service they're providing, and they've got risks to take on, and to they have money put aside to pay for those, for legal and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, to actually answer your question, though, I mean, I do plan on adding another blockchain payment service anyway, in order to accept a greater range, since there's now a lot more coins available from when I started.
Yeah, Bonbon made a suggestion. He's saying something about Skrill as a LR wallet provider. I don't know what that one is.
Yeah, I looked at Skrill. I don't know. They're a UK company. They look like they're kind of okay with blockchain, because they allow for purchasing blockchain through them. But they still kind of have similar rules to PayPal. That was one of the ones that I did investigate. It's just they have the same ability to shut it down anyway. They also accept like the credit card payments, but I don't know what they would do when if you're buying an NFT. It seems like that seems to be a problem for a lot of places, where if you use credit cards to buy an NFT, they seem to say that that's not allowed, depending on the jurisdiction or country you're in and what their laws are and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I've investigated Skrill, but I went with another provider at the moment. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what capacity you've been using that in, and whether that's in a business sense or commercial sense. Taking payments with credit cards and all that sort of stuff. It's a very risky thing to do for a company. So yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you a question. Somebody posed a suggestion to me, and I mean, I know you got so many things going on, and then, I don't know that this is something that you're, like you said, I don't know when you're going to get to implementing, the multiplayer and the PvP, but somebody was saying, would it be, something would be nice is like, could you put something into the character where like, you had the choice of maybe putting points into something where it gave you like different abilities or like health, or I don't know, I'm just spitballing things out there, but because they were saying like they thought that the character was very kind of basic, and I didn't know if there was going to be more on the roadmap for you to add to the characters. Can you even really answer that, or
I'm assuming you're talking about like when you level up. Yes. People are like, oh, why don't I get more health, or why don't I get something, character attributes or something?
Some people were also mentioning like a skill tree, but I think you also kind of touched on that when you were saying you didn't want to add too much too soon.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of skill trees. You can see PoE took it to like maximum insanity with their
Yeah.
skill tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it might change. The skills for your character are kind of in your items. That was the whole point of this. You don't have to build a specific skill tree and go down a specific path and then go and create a new character and go down a different path and all that kind of thing.
Right.
You can just change it on the fly. Like if you want to change what you're doing and you get sick of doing something, just go and sell all your items and buy a bunch of different ones.
Okay. Because what I was thinking is what this other guy was telling me, and I thought was kind of an interesting idea, was like, say, like, so that everybody doesn't have a cookie cutter character. So basically, like, say, let's just say, like, I don't have the relics where I feel like I need more health, but I don't, so I maybe I did something and it says, after I've reached level such and such, I could put an attribute into something that says, hey, I'm going to have more health or more mana regen or more defense. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there that would, and
more
then
credit,
see,
more, yeah.
But whatever, I couldn't be the be all end all character, but let's just say I could craft my character to my need. If my need was, hey, look, I don't have a lot of healing, I don't have a lot of this, I could do this or whatever, and then you could change, like you said, you could change it. But if you're saying you want that to be something that you do with items.
Well, that's what your items are doing. They provide those kind of abilities too.
Relics.
Right. That's true. You're right about that.
Yeah, I mean, from when I first did it, like the game isn't even placed now anyway. It's not such an easy thing to do. Like if I give you like up to another 1,000 health or something every time, or like, I don't know, 100 health every time you level up or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That completely changes a lot of the balance in the game as well. Again, there's new items coming soon, which is also going to change the balance. And you'll see soon what exactly that's about.
Mm-hmm.
The forging skill is also going to add other things. So it's not, just simply adding it on the level and stuff, I don't think is a good solution right now. And I know everyone's used to that from RPG games, but this has kind of grown out of an arcade style game. I remember I used to play first person shooters all the time. And when they first introduced the things like leveling up your character, I was just like, oh, what the hell is this? Now I'm like a level 1 character again. I've been playing already for like thousands of hours. And now I just feel like I'm like at the bottom floor and I just have to try and get my skills that I did have before back again. And it was just like, it's a bit frustrating because I don't necessarily have the time I used to have to be able to play this, and then they added an option to be able to pay and you're like, oh yeah, just pay $10 and now you've got a fully leveled up character. I'm like,
right. No.
So I don't know, like this way, at least you can form it however you like. Like if you play in a specific play style, you can go and collect items that are for you. And if you have a desire to have a specific item that you know about that you don't have yet, well, that creates the demand in the market. Everyone's like, I want to sell my items. It's like, yeah, that's great, but you need to have people to buy those items too. Like you need to have someone to sell it to, and those people need to buy it from you.
No,
so there needs to be demand for it.
I agree with you totally, Cliff. Now that you say that, that makes, because it helps me to answer these questions, because I get these questions sometimes when I'm streaming and from people that I know. And I totally agree with what you're saying. That the fact is that I like that the items, it makes demand for the items, and it's all about, to me, is, that's why I like talking to you, because you have an understanding of your game, and it's like, yeah, I put that into the items, and that if you want something, you go buy an item, and like you just said, if I'm lacking in an area, guess what? I go buy a healing item because that is what I need, and yeah, that I like that. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the whole thing with an economy is it's a sort of a give and a take thing. You shouldn't come into the game just expecting to be able to sell all your items and then cash out and you're a millionaire or something like that. That doesn't make any sense. It's possible that you might get really lucky and find a valuable item, and you are able to sell it and do that. But the goal is probably that you should be playing the game for the sake of playing it, and then being like, oh, cool, I want to do this. Oh, I really like this item. I want to better one of these. I've been playing this for a while. Why don't I just buy one? And then you also then are selling. So it's like everyone's buying and selling, and it's kind of like an economy that goes around. Yep. Without that, if everyone's just selling and there's no buyers, then it's not an economy.
And that's exactly what I was telling people when they were, somebody was asking about, the drop rates, if there's less people, more people in the game. And I'm like, let's just say there was 100 people in the game, and then we were all the ones that have all the items. Well, if we don't have an item to sell to somebody, we're king nothing. You know what I mean? You got to have an economy of people that want to buy your item.
Yeah, I know people are like, I've seen comments about them saying that items used to drop much more often in the early days and that kind of thing. But it's like, well, that's kind of just a bonus that those people got in the early days too. The other thing that they had to do when they used to have to play is they had to pay for every game they played.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a concept of adventure stones back then. And a lot of the time I actually used that to stop people cheating, because cheaters generally don't have any money and they're just trying to scam the system.
Right.
And so most of the time they'll just be put off by that. They're like, oh, I have to pay an entry fee for this. Never mind. I'll go do something else that's for free. And so when it's free, then they tend to come in swarms, and that's definitely been happening lately. But back in the early days, like it's not like it was now. It was a lot harder too. And you had to pay for everything. So it's like, well, they got those items, but they were also paying a lot more money than you guys were, and they weren't playing for free. So it's different rules. You can't just say it's unfair or something, or oh, you weren't here soon enough or something. That's fine. You're still here sooner than everyone else. It's still pre-release.
True.
It's a bad thing that I've made it look good. Like I strive for high quality. And that's kind of been a bit of a negative too, because people come in expecting that this is some finished game, and they're like, what the hell, this game isn't finished. Where's this? Why doesn't it do this? What about this? Yeah. And then massive changes coming on. What the hell, why'd you change all this? I'm like, well, because the game's still under development. Like, I'm not sure what you heard about
the screen, buddy.
Yeah.
So I play on two IPs, like one on my work IP and my home IP. Do you get red flags for that, or is it all right? I mean, I haven't
that should
been
be fine.
struck or something, but
Yeah, no, that's.
I play on
totally
like
fine.
multiple IP addresses, so I know you're against account sharing, so it might look like if someone plays on three IPs, like maybe he's like sharing or something.
Yeah, generally, I mean, it is a difficult thing to detect, anyway, in the first place. And I can't see if for example you guys are sitting in the same house and you change seats and it's a different player. I'd have to require you to have a webcam and film you the whole time for that. Like, that's just ridiculous. But I mean, there are other things, like if you're using. I don't go into how the cheats work or how that cheat detection works and stuff. But that just using the two IPs like that is fine. Generally, I will only ban if it's like 100% that I know for sure. And there's been a few bans recently because people are just using cheats. And then I'll say, they'll contact me on support and say, what the hell? Why can't I do this? What's going on? And I say, I'm sorry, you cheated. That's it. Game over. And then they'll be like, what the hell? And then accuse me and say, how dare you say I've been cheating and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Going against me, I'm like, okay, so now, first of all, it was the denial, and then it was the aggression. Right. And then if I wait a little bit longer, they'll come back and they'll start pleading and be like, oh, I'm sorry, it was only my first time. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. Can I come back? I'm like, no. Zero tolerance for cheating. I need to protect the assets. Just don't do it. Like, it's simple. Like, stop cheating.
But that's the only thing what like got me a little bit worried, like the logging in on multiple IP addresses, because sometimes it like triggers something in games.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why, because if people are logging in from different places around the world, then obviously it seems like they're sharing it. And there's actually been cases in here in Lost Relics as well where I've heard of companies who have set up multiple accounts and they're paying people to play the game and giving them a wage from it. And that's against the rules as well. Like, what the hell is that?
Right.
This isn't a business or anything like that. You shouldn't be treating people like that. They can do that on their own, and if they want to, but they shouldn't be forced to or anything. So
it's still RNG, so nobody is like guaranteed to even like get items or make something. Like, that's, I think, with the YouTube, one of, like, if you put in Lost Relics in YouTube, one of the first videos is showing up with somebody advertising about $17 an hour. It's the first thing that shows up, and I think a lot of people who played Exit or something, I was like, oh, I want to play this game, and it's like guaranteed $17, and it got a lot of hits on YouTube, so it's the number one on searching. And
I mean, the guy who created that is I don't know, he seems to like creating those kind of videos or creating drama and that kind of thing. He recently he tried to pick a fight again on Twitter and made up a bunch of things, and I ended up blocking because there's nothing else I can do. Like, I'm not going to start an argument about random like false or fake news or something that he says.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, he'll say that the community is toxic and whatever, and it's just like, well, no, it's not. It's actually, it only seems to be toxic when you come in and start flaming people and that kind of thing. Like, that's when it seems to turn toxic. Other than that, everyone seems to be fine. It's just so you kind of create these situations for yourself. Yeah. So anyway, like, I mean, he can do that if he wants to, but just do it somewhere else, whatever. I don't care.
Well, 2 thumbs up for you for that, and I definitely applaud you for banning people that and you don't have any tolerance, because I totally can't stand when people are cheating and they're allowed to cheat, and if a developer allows them to cheat, that's even worse. And so I'm glad that you do not tolerate that. Thank you.
I mean, personally, I'm a huge fan of like the Microsoft's Project X and stuff. I think Google Stadia as well, Stadia. I would love to use those because it just kind of helps with stopping people cheating. Like, they can't use memory cheats anymore. They can't modify the files on the disk, and they can't do a whole range of things. And it just kind of makes it more fair for everyone, because like, if you're just cheating to get ahead of everyone else, then like, sure, that's fun for you because you're doing it, but everyone else is missing out. You're potentially gaining more than everyone else and gaining an edge, and it's not fair. Just stop it.
Cheaters never prosper.
Hey Cliff, I'm gonna kill myself if I don't ask you this question. I was thinking about it earlier. If I let him get away from here and I didn't ask this question, I would be like, oh my god, why didn't I ask this question? Is it possible? No. You're gonna be totally surprised when I tell you what I'm gonna ask him. This is the thing I was wondering. Is it possible that there is, because right now I know there's no player-to-player transfer, and I totally understand. I totally get it. I get it. Is it possible to make it easier for a streamer? Is there a way to get some sort of permission or something, or you implement something in the game that if I want to give away something to somebody in the game that I can just, I don't know, that I could trade or give to you to trade, if that is there something where a streamer can reward his viewers easier than using a wallet-to-wallet transfer?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with setting up something like that. I've thought about maybe in the past, like you can do something where you can set up your own giveaway within the game, or like a donation thing. People have been asking, I have a number of items, I want to be able to give them to people in the game. Is there a way to do that? And I was thinking of creating like a donation box or something where you can put it in. It says such and such just donated so many items to the donation box. They're now available in the game or something as one particular method. But definitely doing something else where you kind of get verified, and then you can send items to people through your stream or something like that. Seems pretty good. I just don't want it to be abused or anything.
No.
My main argument against it is obviously for people doing gold farming and item farming and stuff like that, and then having multiple accounts. In the case of, for example, this company that was doing it, sending their items to their account, to one single account, and then like cashing that out or doing other shady things. It just makes that system too easy for people to do.
Right.
Right now you can kind of do that now, where you have, let's say you had multiple accounts and you sent it out to multiple of your wallets. You could then send it from those wallets to another wallet. But at least in that case, every time you do the send, you're having to pay gas fee and potentially a transfer fee. And that kind of gives a disincentive to doing something wrong, or to doing something like that where it's a bit shady. So yeah, that's why I kind of don't really allow it at the moment. I may or may not make a change with that in the future. And I mean, it does sound like a good idea for you guys, to be able to stream and do a giveaway and that kind of thing. But I might set it up as like an actual integrated thing. I.e. in Twitch, you can say, hey, I want to do a giveaway. I'm giving away this item, and it's all integrated into the game, and then it like notifies your channel, and people in your channel can then enter into the giveaway, and it like shows into the game as well. Just stuff like that. Like, that's called Twitch integrations and stuff. I was eventually going to have that.
Okay, that's fantastic. One of the guys is even saying, hey, could they even possibly take donations for streamers and stuff? So what I wanted to do, Cliff, was because right now more than ever pendants are wanted. People are wanting pendants, and so I was like, man, I'd love to give you guys some pendants, if I wanted to use some gold, or I wanted to do something to give away to my viewers, because to me pendants would probably be one way I could support you and also support the new players in the game. So I don't know if there's going to be, and you know, like you said, how it would work. You know, for me to like be able to donate pendants and say, hey guys, go give them a code and say, hey, if you redeem this code, you can go and redeem it for a 30-day pendant or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
So the other idea that I have still on the list to do is a way to gift a friend. So you would basically go to the store page and buy something for someone else. There's some issues with that I have kind of discovered now because of the credit card fraud and that kind of thing. Like you could just imagine someone buying something with a stolen credit card and gifting it to a friend, and then them using it up, and then it's just like, well, what's the legalities of that? Because then they don't have the item, they've given it to someone else. I then charge or take it off their account, but then this other person needs to have it removed, and it kind of just starts involving multiple people. So yeah, I mean, if it was all just blockchain and then you could only do a donation or gift a friend through blockchain, then that probably would be fine, because then people can't do that kind of shady stuff. So gift a friend on the shop and that kind of thing would work if it was blockchain, I guess.
Yeah, so you could, for example, accept like Tron or EOS and still implement it.
Yeah, I think so. The major problem there is just the credit card payments, because it's called, in the industry, it's called push payments, and something like blockchain is pull in a way, because credit card is pull and the other one is push. So for example, it's because I have to say, hey, I want to charge this credit card this amount of money, and then at a later point in time you can be like, well, no, I didn't make that transaction, they just pulled it from me without knowing. Whereas when it's push, like if you do a wire transfer, or if you use blockchain, it's you actually actively saying, yes, I'm trying to send money, and therefore legally it's considered, you acknowledge that, and therefore it wasn't unknown, and therefore you can't get a charge back.
It's the same with Ideal. Like if you send money even to a company or maybe to a friend, and you even like did one number wrong and somebody else got that bank account, your money is gone.
Yeah, that's right. Unless they're nice or something like that, and they end up returning.
Unless there's nice people, but
yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate that, Cliff. Because I was like thinking, like, how can I help my viewers out if I want to do giveaways? And I know other guys do giveaways and they pay the ether to do that. And I was like, I'm hoping that we could get something else going where I was going to ask you about that, and so I didn't know if that was on your radar. So I'm glad to hear that it is. For sure.
Oh, my shift is almost ending, so I almost need to go though. I want to ask one question. Probably you have heard it 100 times, and you probably don't want to answer it. But do you know? Of course you do know. But when we can expect like an event like Easter? Is it Halloween, or do you like secretly planning something maybe in between?
Sorry, what was that again? When can you expect what?
An event like what you did with Easter?
The event.
Yeah, is it something like Halloween? Maybe you put something out, or is it maybe something secret in between, summer and Halloween, that you maybe like put events out? I know minting items is really expensive on Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, I just create them. I've just been creating them off chain for now, since that's the easiest. It's just the amount of work that's required to set up the event, because they generally run for like 2 weeks or something, so it's quite a bit of effort to set it up. I need to get the fiat gateway up and running, and so basically I want to get that out of the way, but it really depends on how long that ends up taking as to whether I'll do another event in between or not. I usually do have an event for Halloween, so there'll definitely be one this year. So if I don't manage to do one before then that'll be the next one.
Cool. Do you also want to add something like magic staffs or something, or like a crossbow, or is it like just bow and melee weapon right now, and that's gonna be it for a long time, instead of like spells and like magic wands?
No, that stuff is all coming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Just
awesome.
everyone sees what's there now, and they're like, oh, is that it? There's nothing here. Like, it's really basic. It's like, yeah, that's the point, because every time you add more stuff, it takes even more time to update it if you make a change. So, for
Right.
example, I added all these new adventures.
Yeah.
And now when I have to make changes to something and change the format or something or how it works or whatever, it's now taking even longer to go through everything and re-update it all, which is why you generally start small, prepare everything, get it to, a correct format that you want, and then you kind of scale it out from there. But I've kind of trying to find a balance between that and trying to appease people in their expectations of where the game should be right now.
Yeah. Do you going to make a too short map for new people who want to do bounties? Because like a lot of people who are new to the game, just like me, we start off with greens, and well, I bought some items, but it's really hard for people with greens to do the 3 swords, especially if they're new to this kind of games.
I mean, there'll be some expansion in various areas on things.
Because now they need to go to the 3 swords to complete the first bronze bounty.
Yeah, I kind of did that because it kind of needs to push yourself a little bit too, in some regards. And I know there's a few gaps in the place now. Like I did have the 3 easy maps where you could just do everything as a free player. But there's a point where there's the free players where the conversion needs to still happen. Like people need to be like, okay, I've been free player for this long. I've decided I'm going to, upgrade.
Yeah.
If there's no reason for you to upgrade, you're just never going to do it. And that's just a drain on resources for me, and you're just taking out items and not giving anything back to the system. Like everyone loves just taking things out of the system but not giving anything back. There needs to be a bit of give and take, and people need to understand that as well. Like they're complaining, oh, I have to pay for this, I have to do something. It's like, yeah, but you also get things out of it. In other games, you might buy something or buy a skin or something like that, and that's it. You can't sell it, you can't get rid of it, or you can't take anything out of it. In this, you can. So it's very different, and people are still trying to get their head around that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, one more question. I'm level 16 right now, and I heard in the past you roll pets when you level up. Is that still a thing, or is it like really dry right now?
Nothing's guaranteed, so things can change over time. As I find or discover people figuring out how to do certain things or to exploit the system, I might change things. Giving away a pet at a specific level ended up creating a way for people to simply create thousands of accounts and go and claim that free blockchain item and then send it out to themselves and cash out and just suck it dry, sort of thing.
Plus their blockchains, that's why I say they're limited.
Yeah. I mean, virtual will be cool as well, but it's like, it's too bad people exploit stuff for real players then.
Yeah, I mean, over time as it goes, things will get improved. Like the way things are now won't be the way they are in a couple of months. I'll be adjusting, the loot, the drop tables, adding more loot. Different things will drop different things over time and that kind of thing. Like everyone's asking these questions almost like this is a finished game and that's how, it's never going to change anymore. But, it shouldn't. Like if you're going to go out and look for treasure in the real world, you can't just walk up to someone and be like, hey, do you know where to get the best treasure? Or like if they knew, they'd probably go and take it themselves. They're not going to tell you or anything, right? Yeah. And you don't necessarily know because it's been hidden or it was lost in time or something like that. Like it shouldn't be a thing where you can just be like, click a button and get an item. That's not really what it's meant to be. Sure, there's plenty of things out there like that. Although I'm pretty sure they don't work exactly like that. But yeah, anyway.
Unless you're tyrannic. Just kidding. Joke.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, so Tyranitar says that he says the Emporium looks sweet. So I'm taking it, you have access yet to that? I don't think, can you use that for the founders now?
He got the founders, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I thought there was a delay for the founders even still.
No, they should be access, right?
Yeah, they all have access now.
Oh, they do?
And
Okay,
it's 24
okay.
to 48 hours for everybody else, if I remember correctly.
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah, I mean, the time limit is, I just have to give something because people then ask 1,000 questions when again.
They'll
do that.
Look,
but it just depends on how well it goes. I'm just making sure that, it's functioning correctly, I guess. And it doesn't seem to be any problems. I could theoretically open it now, but I might just leave it a little bit longer because I like to at least give it 24 hours so that everyone who did have a founder's token who knew it was coming could see the update and at least have a chance to use it before I give it to everyone. Otherwise, I'll then be criticized that I didn't give the founders long enough to have a chance, and they just bought it so they could access the Emporium or whatever. Like it doesn't matter what I do.
Hey Cliff, you give them a little bit of time. I think that is totally awesome. You know what? When you reward people who supported you, even if they aren't the original founder, they got a token, and they didn't know. They didn't know. Trust me, I know they didn't know because you didn't say so. This is like a extra. Hey, you're just giving a little. Hey, I'm the developer. I'm going to give you guys something. And you know what? I think. I don't have one of these coins, and I think it's cool. I think it is fan-dang-tastic that you are recognizing your people who have supported you. Thank you for doing that. I'll wait. If you want to make me wait, I'll wait.
I mean, for the like the founders token stuff. I mean, I've talked about this before. I think in the other
the NFT Discord, NFT chat.
Yeah, and the NFT gaming and stuff. Yeah, in the podcast. And it's a tough thing because people seem to be quite entitled about that. People who just gave $100 and they're like, I gave you $100 and you haven't done anything with it or whatever, and you just criticize me for not making them millionaires or something. And it's just like it's never what it was supposed to be. I ended up doing it because I was kind of pressured into it because all the other projects were doing it. So for me, actually, the people that are supporting me are the people that are actually buying pendants and in the store, and either selling them or using them themselves. So really, those are the people that I should be, thankful for and rewarding. And a lot of that stuff is, well, they get access to the game and they're able to drop items and stuff like that. I can't make it that if you give me this, like for every $20 that I give you a blockchain item, because then I'll just be criticized for being pay to win or something like that. Like it doesn't, I don't know. It's kind of weird, a concept in this thing, even so, like to be called pay to win, because I think that whole thing is that the players were complaining that they would have to pay the developers and they wouldn't get anything from it. But the system with blockchain gaming is so totally different because you can own the item and resell it. So even if you bought an item, i.e. you bought an item you paid to win, you can then resell it to someone else later anyway. Like it doesn't even apply. And I don't know what you're winning. In that regard, it's like if I go to the coffee shop and buy a coffee, I've just paid to win because I paid to win the coffee.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense when people claim it's pay to win or whatever.
I think it's just a lot of people don't fully understand NFTs and blockchain. It's a new thing.
Yeah, maybe it could be that. It could be that they don't understand it or can't figure out how it works.
MXTs did kill a lot of games, though. I mean, same with old school RuneScape when I played. Well, it was RuneScape then, and they went to RS2, I think, and they started MXTs. But like people like me will grind it for 2-3 years and bought membership and whatever for a max level. We achieved it. It was something big and special, and then they came out with MXTs, and people just put down like 20 grand and their max level in 12 hours, and I'm like, yeah. That's pay to win.
Right, I don't know what MXT is or anything, but it's sort of
microtransactions. Like you let's say you buy chest here in game, and every chest you open, you gain like 100 or 500 experience in a skill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like that in real life a bit too, though, with everything. Because well, I'm just trying to think of a good example. I mean, it's even with the items right now. Like you can go and buy a Transcendent, but you'd still probably die in the dungeon if you didn't know how to use it. It's not like you bought the skills to go along with it. You might have bought the item. It's like you can go out and buy the most expensive car, and you might crash it tomorrow because you don't know how to drive it. Like you paid to win that car. Sure, you paid 20 grand, and someone else might have grinded to get it, i.e. they went to work for 30 years and saved up all their money and then they bought it. Or you might have, had the money given to you by your parents and you dropped it on it, and then like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how some of that stuff is supposed to work in this space when money is involved and when you can buy and sell items either. So it's a bit of a weird case to make against these kind of games.
Yeah. I definitely, I tell people it is an investment. I tell people when I buy items in this game, I look at it as an investment. It's not like other games where you pay for something that you're basically just throwing your money kind of, you're getting something out of it when you're playing the game. But in this game or any blockchain game, when you buy an item, I look at it as an investment because you can turn around and sell your item. So I agree with you when you're saying, I didn't think of it like what you're saying, before about, hey, this isn't pay to win because, hey, you know what, you've made the investment. Just like in anything, if you decide that you're going to want to go fast and you buy a specific kind of a car, well, guess what? You're going to go fast because you went and made an investment.
Yeah,
on a certain
I think
thing.
for me that the pay to win stuff would be if the only way to get to level 100 was to pay money. Then that seems like pay to win,
Right?
because it means that you have to have some level of money to get there. And so if that some level of money was like $20,000, then obviously not everyone's going to be able to do that. But if you're given an option to grind it for time instead, so you're trading your time for money, then it's not really pay to win because you have an alternate way to get to it. It's only if it's the only way to get to it is with money.
Right.
Because you could spend your time like right now, like you're saying, you're spending your time, you're grinding it, you're trading your time, but you find a bunch of items and then you can sell those and you get money for it, and someone else spent their money for that instead of spending their time.
Right.
So that's just standard, right? That's how the world works. It's not pay to win.
And that's exactly what I tell them. I says, you need both in a blockchain game because, just like I said earlier, if there is only people who have and then there's no have-nots, well, guess what? Without somebody to sell to, you're king nothing. You are king of nothing.
Yeah, that's right. If everyone has all the items, then there's no one wants to buy them from you, and you have no one to sell to. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
It's weird, people are thinking they can find these items and then just sell them to a vendor to get engine or to get blockchain money. It doesn't work like that.
No, absolutely not. And I try to, definitely keep people in mind. Hey, because the first question as a streamer I am always asked, Cliff, is, oh, how much money have you made today? How many blockchain items? They're always asking me this, just like they're asking you when update. Somebody comes into my stream, one of the first questions I'm asked is, how do you like the game? And then how much money are you making? That's always a question. And it ain't just me, it's all the streamers. I know it is. Yeah,
I mean, in this space, that's a primary focus for a lot of people, I guess. There's also a lot of greed in this space. People are very, very greedy and want to make a lot of money or whatever it happens to be. Like that's a very common focus for humans because you need money to do things in this world. But yeah, I mean, some people let it be their primary focus and then get annoyed by game mechanics getting in the way. And they're like, Cliff, can you just make it so that I can click this button and get an item? That's all I want to do. I want to go to work. I want to click this button, or when I come home, have like hundreds of items ready for me.
Right.
I'm like, that's not how it works.
Right. Somebody was asking me earlier about, because I guess they died because he went AFK, and I know that happens sometimes. They're like, what is there? Because I was thinking, I understand like at other games where you have nodes that respawn and things like that, and I don't mind the AFK thing, but I was just wondering, is that kind of the reason? What is the botting? Is there a reason we can't go AFK? How does that affect the game? Because I wasn't really sure.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. Like it keeps resources on the server open, but it also, there were people that were, for a while, they would like go to work and then just sit in a dungeon and go home and come back the next day and then continue on where they were, and it would just really mess with the server data and the analytics and stuff.
Okay.
And it's not meant to be like that either. Like you're basically hogging a slot and no one else can use anything. So yeah, it's not ideal to be like that. The other part of it is the internal clocks in the games. So it's done with a I don't know how to explain this easily, but it's a like a mathematical value for tracking time that it gets more and more inaccurate over time. So the longer it's running, the worse it gets. For those programmers, it's floats. So, as floats increase in size, they eventually start drifting. you're getting inaccuracies, or time will drift, and a bunch of other stuff. So there seems to be something like that inherent in Unity or somewhere, maybe somewhere in my code that I missed or something like that. But I noticed there would be some issues with it that would happen over time. And so that's the other reason for having AFK and for terminating your session after you've been playing for about 8 hours. Anyway, there's a bunch of things like that.
Okay, that helps me to
I think
understand.
it's a good feature.
Yeah, I think it is.
We also talked with Locked. Maybe I'm not sure if you spoke with him. He's a programmer, and he comes in the stream a lot. And so we were talking about before the recent. You've made a lot of updates recently. So before the update, the game, it was easier, and we agree. So, and I was asking Locked what he thought about it, and other players what they think about the changes. I noticed that in between these patches, you had a point where it got pretty challenging, I'd say, and then it's gotten a little bit easier-ish. Not, you know what I'm saying? And Locked was saying that these are called tensions, and in the programming world, you add tensions, kind of like the one you were just talking about with the AFK feature. And he likes it. I like it. I think it's great that you're adding more tensions. It makes the game more dynamic. Yeah, somebody in the chat was even asking something along the lines of, are you content with where the game is at now as far as the difficulty, or where are you heading with that? Something of that nature.
Yeah, look, it's an entirely evolving thing. There are still missing mechanics in the dungeons and adventures and things like that. There's just a lot of them are just tests. Like, for example, all the fire blasters in the dungeons and stuff like that. I just initially implemented those, and I haven't actually added traps like that to any of the other adventures. And there needs to be other things like that. The same with the encounters and things like that you get at the moment, the lock-in rooms and that sort of stuff. All of that stuff ends up being first pass. And as I create more and more of them, I can then start, interspersing them around and spreading them out and adding some variation. The goal is not for you to understand or to be able to go, okay, if I step 5 rooms west in this direction, I know that I'll find a chest. And if I go this direction, you shouldn't know any of that stuff. It should be random enough that you don't know that, because you're actually making it more unfun for yourself. You're making it more boring for yourself by finding the patterns and understanding them and then following them. That's what gives you like the boredom of it, because you're like, I've got no surprises anymore. I know what's going to come around this corner, whatever. So I guess in a way that tension thing is kind of similarly kind of relates to that. But yeah, a lot of this stuff, like, it's still just first pass. I haven't finished building all the things I wanted to build out yet.
Gotcha.
I keep getting surprises thrown at me with different things coming up, like, losing the fiat shop twice. 2 different things. I had to do 2 different integrations for that to get that up and running. And so that took time away from building out the game stuff. And the Chaos Unleashed update was a chance for me where I wasn't doing any of that stuff, and I could finally focus on some of the game stuff again, which I hadn't done for many, many, many months. So there will be still more fine tuning coming in. And the difficult thing to combat with that is, as the player base grows older with the game, like as they play it for years and years, you get very used to the mechanics, and you get very sensitive when things are changing. So when things are changing, and you also get very good at it. So you kind of need to naturally lift the difficulty for those players to make it more interesting over time as well. Otherwise, it does get kind of boring. But you also have the potential of doing it too much on the lower end and then making it too difficult for new players who just aren't experienced in it, or who may have never played one of these games. And there seems to be a lot of people coming into this game who have never played an ARPG. And the game, it's not set up right now for those kind of people. Everyone's like, add more tutorials and stuff like that. It's like, no, I'm not going to spend more time. I've already remade the tutorials 3 times.
Right.
And they end up being throwaway, because there's only so much I can teach people with those things before I go and change a bunch of more mechanics. And I'm like, oh, well, I've just added this in, I've done this, and I've changed this around, and I've changed how this works. Now I've got to go and redo some of the tutorials and stuff. So I kind of rely right now on people understanding or knowing how to play ARPGs to be able to do that. But, even then, like, you're getting new people coming in who have heard about it most of them seem to be that they've heard about that you can make money, or they saw the video about $17 an hour or whatever, and they're coming in like, yeah, how much money can I make? I'm like, well, this game's hard, I can't play it. I'm like, is this the first game you've played? Yes.
We get it on the stream too. They come by here, they come on the stream, and they're like, oh, how much can I make an hour playing this game? And I'm like, really? That's not really designed for that.
Yeah. And if that's why you're here, then this is not the game for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's not guaranteed. Like, if you want a guaranteed income, you'll have to get a job. Like, people seem to be like, well, why can't you just do that for me? Like, why can't you just pay me in items and that sort of thing? I'm like, well, What am I paying? What am I paying you for? Usually when you pay someone an income, it's because they're doing a job for you and getting something done, which generates, money, and then they can give you a cut of that money as your income. How does that work with like a game like this, blockchain items? You're earning gold or something like that for free. I'm paying you with that gold, and you want to be able to convert that to engine. I'm like, well, I've got to pay for the engine, and I'm giving that to you because you spent some time in the game. I'm like, well, but I didn't get anything out of that. I didn't earn anything from that.
Right.
So, depending on how, like, there's a lot of you understand it, but some people seem to.
Well, that also goes back to what you were saying earlier, how what you've built here is an economy, and things literally have value out of thin air.
Yeah, I mean, and the same with the virtual items. And I know, they're not blockchain. I was at the very, very start, I was against doing any kind of virtual items because I was like, well, no one will want them. We've had virtual items for many, many decades, and now we're doing blockchain, so everything should be blockchain. But it's expensive, and there's certain dynamics that you actually lose when they're made blockchain and when you can own the item. It's like, I might decide to do an event where I give everyone a specific item, but at the end of the event, the item needs to disappear, and it needs to have like no value because it might be reused next year, or it might be recycled for something else. If that was a blockchain item and you sent it to your wallets, then I can't get it back. So like the mechanic of being able to destroy that item later on is I don't have that anymore. And while it's good to own all your items, like there's some things that you don't want that for. The same with it's like same with all the resource items. Like originally it was fine to do all those resources. People could send thousands of resources and pay 1 cent to send them. But as the blockchain network got more expensive, it's now way too expensive to even send a couple of items to be able to complete a quest or to complete a bounty or something. So yeah, the virtual kind of had to come in there, and then we had to create the economy for the virtual side, which is where gold coins were then added back in. And yeah, there's two economies basically now. There's the blockchain economy and the virtual economy in the game. Yep. Both of them kind of have to exist separate to each other. You can't cross them over, but they both have to have value. So yeah, it's been kind of cool to say. Yeah, it's just got to be careful with what I do. I don't want to drop thousands of items into one of the economies and it destroys it.
No, I know. And that's what I like about you. I know you understand so much about your economy, and I, you see, it isn't like, oh, he's clueless of what's going on. No, you do understand. One of the things I was going to ask too, and I don't know if you're going to, that may help new players, because you were talking about the tutorials there a minute ago. One of the things I was wondering, and I noticed and you could correct me if I'm wrong, the uncommon BC relics, I don't know that there are any, and I know it would be nice to maybe have some, and I don't know if that's something that you do on purpose or you don't want people to have, or are you possibly thinking about putting some uncommon relics for new players to be able to do with the greens?
Yeah, definitely. Like people seem to say that, oh, all the items are gone. That's it. The game's dead. It's dried up. Right. It's like, well, no, like there's a lot of items that aren't in the game yet. And I don't constantly drop them now because they'll be fully looted. And with the speed that things get looted out of the system, I also need to be careful because it means that I'm potentially having to add more items in. The issue that we actually have at the moment is that there's not enough flowing around. So the existing items that are out there, there's a twofold thing. The gas is too expensive. A lot of people don't want to trade them because it's too costly. And a lot of the items of those lower end items and stuff don't have a use yet. So people don't really know what they're for. They are speculating on them, or they might want to keep them for later because they're still not sure what they're for. So yeah, there's a few things that impact that we kind of just have to wait for rather than just demanding more items or anything like that. It's frustrating for me too. Like I'm not just holding back because of I'm trying to upset you or whatever. Like, it's nothing personal. There's certain things I have to get out of the way first before I can address some of them, and that just takes time.
Okay, yeah, I figured that you would eventually put in, and like you said, maybe some of these items that you've already put in may have a use that will be good for the lower tiers. Because I know right now I didn't see any. You know, people are always asking me, "Well, Havok, what should I get? What items do you recommend?" You know, and I'm like, "Well, right now there's not a whole lot in the greens that you can get. So you're just gonna have to learn how to, bring healing, do the mechanics, learn the game. You know what I mean?"
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely gaps in it at the moment. I'm well aware of that, but I've just got a few other things that I'm concentrating on first that need to get fixed before I add those as well.
Okay.
So you just kind of have to hang in there, I guess, and hope you get lucky if you're enjoying it. If you don't enjoy it, that's fine. Just come back in a couple months, see where it's at. Whatever, no one's forcing you to stay and play something if you don't enjoy it. And I don't recommend that because you'll just hate it.
Right. And I'm not saying that at all, like, just, say, hey, people, I'm not trying to, discourage anybody. I'm just mentioning it because I noticed myself that there wasn't any, and I just wanted to mention that. And it sounds like you're aware of what's going on and all that, so.
Yeah. And people could say, though, if you hired more people, they would be able to address it. It's like, well, not exactly, because some things are blocking of other things anyway. And even if you had more people to do it, it doesn't change another aspect. I've been waiting for the blockchain fees to come down because I was like, I wouldn't have to do the blockchain marketplace. People could just keep doing that. But it's not happening. And even now when it's as low as 7, and it hasn't been like that for months, people are still complaining it's expensive. So the other part that you don't get with the blockchain at the moment, especially with Ethereum or engine system, is there's not this really nice integration with the game. For those who are already using the blockchain marketplace, it's essentially going to feel exactly like you use the virtual marketplace. You don't have to be like, okay, I have to send this item out to my wallet, then I have to list it in the wallet on the Engine X, and I have to wait for it to sell. Oh, it's not selling. Okay, I can change the price on here, and you're like doing it all outside the game. Like in when you're making video games, the primary focus is generally to keep the person in the game and to keep them playing. Right now, I hate it that I have to. If you want to buy something, you have to go to the website because that's considered bad. Because you're pushing them to something else, and that'll give them a chance to maybe, I don't know, see some other thing and then get involved in that instead and not play the game anymore or whatever. It's just generally considered a bad practice. So ideally, the goal would be to have the marketplace, the shop, and everything like that within the game. Like, you don't even have to leave it anymore, and you can just do everything from within the game, because not only does that give it a nice, perfect experience, but it keeps you playing, keeps you involved.
When you mentioned the website, are you talking about the process for acquiring the Shadow Stones, or?
The Shadow Stones are all in-game.
Okay.
So in order to get the Shadow Stones, you can just do it straight from in the game, but the goal is to do that with everything. So, for example, like buying pendants and from the shop, or buying outfits and that sort of thing from the shop, like you have to go to the website to do that right now. And part of that was because it's quicker for me to set that stuff up on the website than it is in the game, but also because when I was using PayPal, they didn't have any other way to do a transaction outside of a web browser. So as a game, you're kind of forced to do it that way. So I might be able to set up a virtual shop in the game. You say pay now, and it'll jump you out to your web browser and minimize the game, which is a terrible experience.
Well, he must be doing something right, because hey, look, we're consistently seeing almost 1,000 people in the game right now. Even there's still 700 and something people in the game, and it's for me it's late at night, but different times around the world. But I'm definitely seeing people consistently playing the game right now. So I think that, this is good, and I'm encouraging people to play, and I think that we are going to see. I think this is going to be a trend, because you don't have an Easter event going on right now. You don't have anything but the game and the update, and I think this is awesome. So I'm very, very thankful for the changes that you've made and the things that you've done, and how you listen to the players, that you and then you decide what is best for the game off of your own experience, and which is vast compared to mine. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that. I feel the same. And Wolf Ninja in the chat says, we enjoy the game, Cliff. Thank you. We feel that sentiment. So if you're getting bad vibes from other players, I'll tell you there's a huge community that totally supports the game and is telling you to go ahead and take your time, you know.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. It's really great to have the positive reinforcement and that sort of thing. You know, it's very easy in this day and age to focus too much on negatives and to get, you know, pulled down into that sort of stuff. So it's always great to hear all the positivity and stuff.
And, you know, thanks again. I know you may need to go soon. I want to, before you take off, I want to basically tell you thanks for coming by. What a wonderful surprise that this is.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
I never thought I would ever get a chance to talk to you. I really appreciate this.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen you many times, posting things in Discord or posting your videos and doing streams and stuff, Averuptor. So it's been good to have a chat to you too. All right, so I might leave that here. I'll just have a quick look in chat.
Make sure I don't die.
Not too much. All right, cool. That looks good. All right, I'm going to get back to it and just address. I've got a couple of messages coming through about the Emporium stuff, so I'll just see if that's some feedback. And then probably tomorrow at a similar time, I'll probably go ahead and enable it for everyone so that you can all start using it.
Thank you.
And get that flowing nicely.
I am so, Cliff, thanks a lot. And just thank you once again for taking your time to field questions and come to, you know, the people who are streaming your game. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am. Thank you so much.
No worries. I'm trying to visit like as many people as possible every now and then. I know there's some big streamers in other countries too who speak Spanish and stuff, and there's no way I'll be able to talk to them really, or to sort of discuss anything with them that I know
English too, by the way.
Well,
okay.
See Richie.
I was going to say Richie Perzano does speak English, and he can understand English. He comes into my chat and talks to me, so I can tell you that the community does definitely understand a lot more English than we probably do of Spanish. And if you ever want to possibly let me, I know the guy a little bit. If you want me to reach out to somebody like him or somebody else, don't hesitate to ask about other streamers that you want to possibly, if they're, you know, like him or someone else. I would maybe try to help recommend that, so it's not like an awkward thing, and then let them know. And they've been to my Discord. I go to their Discord or whatever. But it's absolutely there is, Cliff, a huge community that does not speak English in this game, and so yeah, they are very, very happy. I think for the most part of the things that you're doing, and they love you. They love this game.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Yeah, I won't make it a common thing. Like I won't promise that I'm going to visit certain people or anything like that, because then it ends up consuming all my time. Right. I'll just leave it as random for now. So, but if that ever does come up, I'll be sure to ask and reach out.
We know you're super valuable or super busy. That's why we're really grateful that you came by and.
And I don't want to hog all your time, but thank you so much, Cliff. You are fantastic, and I know I told you about that bug, so just I think that was a fluke. I think it's okay. I did get everything back, so any rate.
Oh, good. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great content. I look forward to seeing what you guys create.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
See ya.